Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we're here today with a really special video. Today I want to give you kind of an introduction to Momir, which is a Magic Online only format, which is really fun, super cheap, and very unique. So Momir is a format that makes use of the Momir Simic Visionary avatar, which you can see pictured there. So with avatars, they're these unique cards. They're not legal in normal formats or constructed, and they have a special effect on the game. Almost like a commander or something, you always have access to your avatar. It starts on the battlefield. It can't be destroyed. There's no way of interacting with it. You just always have this. And Momir Vig probably has one of the most unique effects out of any avatar, and that's why there is a format built around it. You can actually play competitive events for prizes on Magic Online in the Momir format. So, what does Momir do? Momir is an avatar, as I mentioned, sits on the battlefield. Your hand size stays the same. Some avatars change your hand size, and your life total gets +4. So in Momir, both players start with 24 life, and you have an ability where you pay X, discard a card, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of a creature card with the converted mana cost of X chosen at random, and you can only use this ability anytime you cast a sorcery and only once each turn. So Momir is an extremely random format. Each turn, one time, you can discard a card from your hand and you get a random creature with the converted mana cost of X depending on how much mana you pay. So in the early game, you're probably making 2-drops and 3-drops, and you're getting a random 2-drop or 3-drop. In the late game, you are making 8-drops usually, and you're getting a random 8-drop. So you never know what's going to happen, and that's what makes Momir fun and exciting. You just never know. Sometimes there are 8-drops that literally die when they enter the battlefield and do nothing, or 8-drops that return all your other creatures to your hand and just lose you the game on the spot. And then there's 8-drops which are awesome, like Avacyn, which makes all your things indestructible and wins you the game. So it's very swingy, you never know what's going to happen, and it's a really unique experience in Magic because of that. So the other interesting aspect of Momir is deck construction. Momir decks have some very specific rules. Most notably, your deck can only contain basic lands. You can't play any other cards in your deck. So your deck, when you create it, is going to be 60 basic land cards and your Momir Vig avatar, all in your main deck, so it'll be 61 cards in total. Typically, when you're building a Momir deck, you want to weight your deck towards swamps and mountains for 2 reasons. You can see down the bottom there, that's the breakdown of how I build my Momir decks: 20 swamps, 20 mountains, 7 forests, 7 plains, 6 islands. You want more swamps and mountains because most of the best activated abilities that require mana require red or black mana. So usually you want swamps and mountains on the battlefield, and then you kind of only play forests, plains, and islands when you need to. The other reason for this is if you just play all 5 colors out and your opponent hits a landwalk creature, like an island walker, it is very easy to lose the game just from that one creature, because remember, everything in Momir is creatures. Your deck is all lands, you make a random creature each turn, so there's no Doomblade to kill that island walker. There's no counterspell to stop it from happening. So it is very unique in that way, and it rewards being good at, well, being lucky, for one thing, but being good at being able to play the battlefield and navigate the combat step, because that's a lot of what Momir is, apart from just the randomness of what creatures you hit. It is being able to manage the combat step well and get your opponent down to 0 life while also being able to maintain your own life total. So it is random, but you can be good at Momir to some extent. It's more random than normal Magic, so if you're playing against LSV, you're going to have a better shot in Momir than you would in some other format, just because there's a higher element of luck involved. But there's still skill involved in it, and you can still be good at it and pick up wins just by being better than your opponent as well. The other sweet thing about Momir is it is super cheap. Since it's all basic lands and those are essentially free, all you need to do is buy the Momir avatar. The Momir avatar, you can pick it up from Card Hoarder, MTGO Traders, whatever bot you like to use, usually for like around 12 tickets, or you can go to the Magic Online store, and for $9.99, you not only get the Momir avatar, but you also get a deck that's already made with lands in it, so you're ready to play right away. So this is one of those rare things where it's actually more economical to buy it from the Magic Online store. And once you invest that $10 or $12, depending on where you get your avatar, you can play Momir forever without ever adding more money to your deck, because everything else is free, and the format never changes. It's not like Standard where it rotates, or maybe a card gets better or worse in Modern and you got to replace it, the new hot card. It's all basic lands, so there's never any reason to upgrade or change things. So that is what Momir is. That is why you should play Momir and how you build a Momir deck. So let's jump in and play a quick game of Momir so you can get an idea of how the actual game works, and I can walk you through some more of my sweet Momir tips, because I'm really interested in the theory of Momir, on how to actually play and be successful in a match of Momir on Magic Online. Alright, so this is what an actual game of Momir looks like. As you can see, got our Momir Vig Simic Visionary avatar on the table. We'll play first, and in Momir, you never, ever, 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 ever mulligan. So, since we played first, we're going to need to, well, I should back up. The basic idea of Momir is to get to the point where you're making an 8-drop, a random 8-drop every turn. And since we only start with 7 cards in hand and we're on the play, that means that we're going to have to skip 2 drops over the course of this game if we want to have enough cards to get to making 8 drops, because every time we make a creature, we got to discard a card. So the way I typically do this is I skip my 1-drop, then I make my 2-drop like we're going to do here, because 2-drop is the best place to hit mana creatures, and mana creatures are the nuts in Momir. We get a Null Champion, a 1/1 that you can level up to a 4/2, then level up to a 7/3. It will be pretty hard to level this up in Momir. We can probably level it up once, since we need to skip our 3-drop anyway to get to 8 drops like I was just talking about. But these kind of effects you really don't want to take too much advantage of most of the time in Momir, because it's usually better to keep making creatures. Let's see what our opponent gets as a 2-drop. Exiled Bogar, a 2/2. When it dies, discard a card. So that's actually bad. Discarding cards are bad in Momir, very bad, because it means you need to skip another drop if you want to get to 8 drops. And drawing cards are good, because it means you can skip less drops. Whenever you scry, it gains +2/+2. +2/+0 in first strike until end of turn. Alright, so I went ahead and made a 3-drop. I kind of want to be able to interact with this Exiled Bogar, because if we can get our opponent to discard a card, that's very good for us. Frostweb Spider, 1/3 Flying Reach. When it blocks a creature with flying, gets +1/+1 until end of turn. It might have been better just to wait, skip our 3 drops. Ugh. Well, we're going to have to play a non-swamp land. Let's see. Well, I think I'm just going to level up Null Champion, attack with Null Champion, and skip our 4-drop here, so we get back on track for making 8 drops. If our opponent blocks with Exiled Bogart, they can kill our 4/2, but they have to discard a card, which means they're going to have a harder time getting to the all-powerful 8-drop. So why are 8 drops so good in Momir, I hear you asking? Well, not only are 8 drops powerful, but they have the highest hit percentage out of any of the expensive drops. When you make an 8-drop, that is the mana cost you are most likely to get a very good creature, and also least likely to whiff. 9 drops, there are some very good ones, but there are some really, really bad ones, more so than 8 drops. And 7 drops, there's just so many of them that there's a lot more variance, so 8 drops are kind of the sweet spot. Corrupted something. When it enters the battlefield, do 2 damage to target creature. Kind of like the original Flametongue Kavu. Much worse, but... Alright, so now we get back on track for making things. We're behind on creatures, but it's not too relevant. We're going to discard an island. Islands are usually the last basic land type I'll play, because there are so many big island walkers, and big things that say, oh, sack this if your opponent doesn't have an island. So it can naturally hose those cards if your opponent hits them. So we're in fine shape. No one's hit anything too exciting yet, but that makes sense. The lower converted mana cost, it's pretty rare to hit something really powerful. It's the higher converted mana cost where you really want to be hitting bombs. So starting with our next drop, our 6th drop, that's when we really want to start hitting good things. Finally a mountain. Really odd mana draw. Discard the island. Well, Teneb is pretty good. Its ability, that's one of the interesting thing about Momir, since everything is lands, things that reanimate or do anything like that really don't do anything, but just as a 6/6 flyer, it's pretty powerful. Big evasive creatures are very good in Momir. Our opponent, oh my god, gets a Worm Coil. Well, Worm Coil is pretty much the best 6-drop you can hit in Momir, I think. I think if, in most situations, so powerful. So we would love to hit some sort of removal-y creature, like an Angel of Serenity, or there's some big bounce creatures as well. So we're going to make a 7-drop here. Hope we don't hit Phage, which auto-loses the game on the spot. Trisk Avalius. Flying, enters the battlefield with 3 counters. Remove a counter, put a +1/1 colorless Triskavalite artifact creature token with flying on the battlefield, has sack it, deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Alright. We might have to use those to counteract the life gain from Worm Coil, depending on what our opponent hits. It might have been better just to attack with Teenub here. Does 5 damage to target attacking or blocking creature with flying. Venom Spout Brachus. And they're going to attack with Rough Rider, so Teenub can't block? They're not. Alright, we take the hit. So our plan now changed a little bit. We want to start making 7-drops. Instead of 8, even though 8 is so much better, we get a Whiptail Worm, an 8/5. Start attacking with our big flyers. Our opponent can chump with their Frostweb Spider if they want. They choose not to. Alright, that's fine. And now we're going to start activating our Triskavalius to make 1/1s chump Worm Coil and sack before damage, so they can't gain a life, and then we should be able to close this game out with our flyers. Sanguine Praetor. Not bad. You can sack a creature and destroy all creatures with the same converted mana cost for 1 black mana. See how our opponent attacks here. I guess the downside of continuing to make 7-drops is our opponent's going to be able to kill them with this Praetor by sacking their Venom Spout Brachus. Wow, opponent's going to go on the big attack. Everything coming in. They can make something not block with their Mardu Rough Rider, which is our big old worm. Alright. Then we remove a counter, make a 1/1 flyer. Block Worm Coil, block Rough Rider, block Rough Rider. Yeah, so we're going to block like this. Sack our token, ping our opponent, get rid of the Rough Rider. Now we're going to make another 7-drop. Actually, maybe that's unwise. Maybe we make a... Yeah, let's make a 6-drop, that's fine. Make a 6-drop. Oh, and it has haste, and creatures we control have haste? Does that win us the game? 6... 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Opponent blocks, 12, 13, 14. We're 1 point short. Well, let's go attacking. Oh, this gets +3/+0. So our opponent blocks 5, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we got it. I forgot that this thing gets +3/+0. So this should be exactly lethal because we can ping for the last points of damage with our tokens. Opponent blocks and blocks. Opponent goes to 2. We make another token, sack the token, sack the other token, and that does it. Alright, game 2 of our intro to Momir. We're on the draw. So on the draw, we only have to skip 1 drop to make it all the way up to 8. So that means we skip our 1 drop, and then we're good to go all the way up to our 8 drops. Opponent's going to just skip right up to 3. Fine technique. So we get the first creature. 2-drop is Inkfathom Witch. Fear. So it can't be blocked except by artifacts and or black creatures. And you can pay 2, a blue and a black, and each unblocked creature has a base power and toughness of 4/1 until end of turn. Could be relevant. Although paying 4 to activate an ability, pretty hard sell in Momir. When it deals damage to an opponent, you may reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a land. If you do put that card on the battlefield, put all the others revealed that way into your graveyard. Well, that is a card we can't get hit by. If we let our opponent start ramping, it's going to be very hard to win this game. So let's pitch an island, see what our 3-drop is. 2/2, when it enters the battlefield, you may return an enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand, sack it, return an enchantment. So the abilities aren't relevant, just a 2/2 for 3. But a 2/2 for 3 does allow us to block this Avenging Druid so our opponent doesn't start ramping. So that's fine. It would have been devastating there if we somehow whiffed or hit a creature that couldn't Stonewall Avenging Druid. Then we probably would have had to chump with something, and it just would have went bad quickly. Opponent's 4-drop. Ooh, 3/3 Mountain Walk. Hillcomber Giant. So Landwalk abilities are extremely powerful in Momir because you just don't have removal. And we already have mountains on the battlefield, so that's just 3 damage a turn until we randomly hit something that can deal with it, which most games won't even happen. 3/2 for 4, so not too exciting. So because of this Mountain Walker, we have to try to be aggressive, because that is going to kill us in 8 turns, even with nothing else. Oh, and 3/3 Flying First Strike. Plow over Knights. Ugh. So that's 6 damage that we can't stop a turn. And it keeps us from attacking with our 3/2. Well, we're going to need a good 5-drop here to get back into this. A big flyer would be nice. Shriek Maw would be nice. Flowstone Crusher. 4/4 can get +1, -1 until end of turn for a red mana. So we'll keep getting in with our Fear, Inkfathom Witch. But the clock is fast. We're dead in about 4 turns, just from what's on the battlefield right now. And I don't think we can kill our opponent in 4 turns. Oh no! Cloud Djinn! Oh! Well, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's 11 unblockable damage a turn. So that's pretty much like the Momir Nut Draw. If you can hit evasive creatures all the way up the curve. Really hard to lose. So we need a huge flyer that can stop our opponent's flyers, and we need it right now if we want to stay in this game. And we get a Sage Eye Avengers. When it attacks, you may return target creature to its owner's hands with power less than Sage Eye Avengers. Well, that's not horrible. We're still taking a huge beating here, but we're going to get to bounce something. Like this Mountain Walker, maybe. Opponent's going to chump. Oh, they're going to trade off their flyer? Wow. Well, that's awesome. So we actually get to kill one of their flyers. Well, our opponent is letting us back into this game with that block. I definitely would not have blocked that way. Their advantage was their fast, evasive clock that we couldn't deal with. Now that advantage is diminished. Let's see what they hit here. That's the cool thing about Momir, is you're always one good or bad random creature away from winning or losing the game. Alright, so good news is we're going to get to bounce this Mountain Walker. Bad news is we're taking 8 here, which puts us to 10, means 2 more attacks from Cloud Djinn will kill us. Alright, let's see what we get at 7. Oh, Marsh Mist Titan, just a 4 or 5. Well, I guess we do some attacking. Maybe we swing with everything. Bounce the Mountain Walker. Our opponent's probably got a double block the Sage Eye Avengers, and we get in for 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. So we'll kill the 4/4. So Sage Eye Avengers was a good hit, but I don't know if it's going to matter. Cloud Djinn is still pretty good in a pretty fast clock. And our opponent gets the first 8-drop. Ooh, Devouring Strassus. 9/9 Flying Trample at the beginning of your upkeep. Sack a creature to regenerate. Well, we're going to have to hit something really awesome here. We can potentially hit our opponent for 8. Not good enough. Well, let's play an island and hope we get lucky. Come on, Momir gods. Give us some love. Sisters of the Solemn Death, not going to do it, and that's the game. Our opponent got the big evasive creatures. We didn't. So we're on to game 3. Alright, so game 3, we're back on the play. Always keep. So we need to skip 2 drops, which will be our 1-drop and our 3-drop. So Swamp, go. So otherwise, in Momir, there's not a lot to it. Play your swamps and mountains first. Try to hold off on playing your other lands because of Landwalk. Play the board well. Sacrifice a goblin, put 2 1/1 Black Goblin Road creature tokens on the battlefield. Pretty much a 2-1 for 1. I can't imagine we're ever really activating that. Unless an activated ability is killing something or very overpowered, most of the time it's better just to keep making creatures as a general rule. Like in Momir, you don't want to leave up mana on the off chance, oh, our opponent could hit a mana ward, bounce this, and we can sack it in response. That's not a good plan in Momir. It's different than constructed in that way. Well, our opponent is hitting the evasive creatures right off the start. 2/2 Intimidate. So we need a white creature or an artifact creature to block it. Good news is we can attack with our Weirding Shaman. Maybe we can get our opponent to block here. That would be awesome if our opponent accepted that trade. They do not. Opponent plays a mountain. 3-drop is Nim Abomination. At the beginning of your end step, if it's untapped, you lose 3 life. Well, okay. It is a 3/4 for 3, but our opponent's going to lose 3 at their end step, and then they need to keep attacking with it. So opponent's down to 19. We get to make a 4-drop. We'll pitch a Plains. Ooh, Spite Mare. Whenever it is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to target creature or player. Not a bad one. And it's white, so it can block the Spectral Rider. So we should be able to get a 2-for-1 off the Spite Mare eventually. Reach. Whenever it attacks, defending player may draw a card. So it'll probably mostly be a defender. I think we're going to double block that. Opponent's going to kill the Spite Mare, then we get to shoot down the Spectral Rider. So there's a 2-for-1 we were talking about. And our opponent only has a creature that really can't attack, at least not very reasonably. Pitch a Forest, and when it enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a permanent unless he or she plays 3, can block only creatures with flying. Well, that's not bad. So our opponent's probably got to sack their Harbor Guardian, actually. You can't really... Sacking lands is very painful in Momir. Yep, they sack the creature. So we're pretty far ahead right now, actually. But in Momir, things change at a moment's notice. It only takes one Worm Coil or bomb like that for the game to suddenly shift back in the other direction. Creatures you control gain menace until end of turn for 5 mana. Activate that only if you have 8 or more power total. Not too threatening. Well, we get to make a 6-drop. Our 6-drop is... Ooh. So, getting shuffled into our library does nothing, because it's a token. But it's a 4/4 flyer. So this turn, this game, we are the ones that are curving out with the fast evasive clock and randomly hitting removal-ish spells. Spite Mare, Rishadan, Brigand. Rishadan Brigand. Alright, opponent gets a 6-drop. It's a 5/4, 6-mana morph. Opponent attacks. We will just take the damage here. So we get to make a 7-drop. We will discard an island. So it does 3 damage to target attacking or blocking creature by tapping. Not bad, and it's big enough to block our opponent's creatures, which is nice. The good news is our combat math is working out. We get to hit for 7, which puts our opponent to 7, which means one more attack can potentially just win us the game. So our opponent needs a big hit. They need a way to deal with our flyers or block them, and they get a big round creature with no ability in Momir, since you don't have creatures to search out of your library. So we got it! The gods of Momir smiled upon us. I guess we'll just double block this thing. Doesn't really matter, but might as well. We're going to win by just attacking with our 2 flyers, so. And we're not even going to make a creature, because if you're ahead and you know you're going to win, you could hit something that's bad for you, something that bounces your own creatures or something, so there's no reason to make a creature when you're going to win. And that does it! We won our game of Momir. So anyway, that is how you play Momir. Just a quick review. $10. You can buy the Momir avatar and a complete deck with the lands in the Magic Online store. You can also buy the avatar for about 12 tickets from various vendors, Card Hoarder, MTGO Traders, etc. So those are your options for getting it. When you build the deck, 60 lands and the avatar go in your main deck. Usually you want more mountains and swamps than anything else, with fewer forests, islands, and plains. And then when you actually play the game, make sure you skip your drops so you can get up to making 8 mana creatures. That is the main thing you do in Momir, and then you hope you get lucky. Play the board well, and hope that you hit some big, powerful things your opponent can't deal with. I definitely recommend giving it a try just because it's so cheap. Each game is different because of the random aspects. So for $10, it's not like you're buying a $10 budget deck where you play the same thing over and over. Every game of Momir is different because of the random element. It's a great way to learn about cards you've never seen before because it's random and you never know what'll pop up. And it's pretty fun, especially in small doses. I don't think I could play Momir is the only way I played Magic, but it's definitely fun to have it available, jump in and play a match every now and then, because it's very different than any other format in Magic, and it's pretty entertaining, and some hilarious, fun stuff happens. So anyway, I hope make sure to check out the website, mtggoldfish.com. If you enjoyed the video, click the subscribe button that's about to pop up on the bottom of your screen. Also, the like button would be awesome as well. And thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon.